Hi, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm Elise LeBlanc and I'm the intern with Mrs. Morris. And as an intern, I feel as I am teaching, I'm also learning a lot, and something that I never considered when I was in classes was giving quizzes in a different way than just printing them out and giving a copy to every single student. And so something that I learned from Mrs. Morris that I've seen work extremely well is giving quizzes on PowerPoint slides. So something that was extremely beneficial from this was time management mainly. So the first thing is when I give a quiz or I choose to give a quiz on the PowerPoint, that's a choice. So the questions are something that they will be able to answer in a minute or 2 minutes, something they can use with open book, open note. So I would never give them a quiz where I know the question would take them at least 5 minutes, where they would have to write 3 or 4 sentences, some extended response, because I know that that is not realistic. So for example, I've given quizzes before on open book, open note. Recently we did a quiz on the first act of The Crucible, and every question, only 5 of them, was a 1 sentence to 2 sentence response, something that I know that my students can do. So with time management, it's really important because I may want to give them the quiz in the beginning of the class period, and I want to know you guys can answer these questions within the 15 minutes that you get. So with time management, there's 1 question on each slide. So 1 question, depending on the type of question, will have a different amount of time. So multiple choice, for example, I would say, okay, I've given you these options, so you have 1 minute. But if it's a question that asks you, please give me a 1 sentence response, 1 to 2 sentences, that's a question that you'll get 2 minutes. And on my computer or my phone, I will put that timer up. So something else that's really beneficial with the 1 question per slide is not only time management, but not overwhelming them. So they get 1 question. That's their goal. Answer this question in that 1 minute. Answer this question in that 2 minutes. If you give them a piece of paper that has 5 questions on it, they may say, wow, I'm having a really difficult time with this 1 question. I'm going to spend 5 minutes on it. But you only get 15 minutes to do this quiz, and there's 5 questions. So you've given all of your time and your effort into this 1 thing. The rest of the quiz you're going to have to rush, and it's not going to be your best effort. So every question is going to have that amount of effort that they need to put forth into it. So something else that I found is very helpful with this is as they're working on it, I have 2 minutes going on my phone, so I'm going to walk around the room. You're not using your phone. You're not looking at your notes unless I tell you that you can. And I'm walking around, you're working on it, and then you're done. 2 minutes is up. And that's something, time management obviously is helpful for me because get it done, I know you can, but it's helpful for them as well. So they say, I have a goal, I have this 2 minutes, I need to get it finished, I need to get it done. So they have their eyes on the board the whole time. They have their eyes on their book or their notes the whole time, and they get it done. So that's really good. Let me check on my notes. Also, the obvious one is saving paper, which is great. It saves paper, it saves a trip to the copier, so I don't have to print out 120 copies. I have 120 students. I don't have to print out even 30, which is a class set for my classes. I print out 1 or 2 that I can file away, and if someone comes into my class and says, hey, I need to make this up, I was absent this day, I say, all right, well, here's a copy. But even then, students aren't going to just walk into my classroom, they're going to make an appointment with me to come in at a certain time to take the quiz, and at that point, they can take it on the presentation as well. That keeps it fair for every student. It's not fair if I have a student come in during lunch and say, I'm coming in during lunch, I want the entire 40 or 50 minutes to take this quiz that every other student only had 15 minutes on. So when they come into my classroom, I say, okay, you get 2 minutes per question, go. I had that happen today. I had 2 students come into my classroom and take up an Act 1 quiz, or make up an Act 1 quiz, and they got that time. So it keeps time management, saves paper, saves a trip to the copier, which is in the office, and it's just too far away for me. Yeah. And it works out for everybody. My students are focused, they're not overwhelmed, they don't have 5 questions at one time, they have 1 question for that specific amount of time, and they get it done. And it's working. So yeah. And that's it. Any questions? Yes? No? Questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
How do the students respond to this? Do they say they like these quizzes better, or have they given you any feedback about it?
Any feedback hasn't been like, this is great, because it's a quiz. But I've noticed that the time management thing is something that they're responding to as well. So when I start a quiz, I tell them, okay, so each question is going to be 2 minutes. And they say, okay, I'll get this done. And so something else that I've done with the timing issue is, so for example, if one student in particular has a really hard time with question number 3, at the end of the 5 questions, I'll say, all right, so did anyone have a really hard time with any of the questions? Do you need me to go back to a slide? Normally the response has been, no, we've gotten it all. Excuse me, but I've had a couple of students that will say, oh, well, I didn't really understand question 2, can you go back? So as everyone's finishing up, heading their papers, turning them forward into the center, the kid that really needed extra help or extra time on question 2 has a few more seconds to just finish that off. Yeah.
Do you still have a lot of kids that leave questions blank, like don't answer questions?
I wouldn't say a lot. I'll have a few. I don't think that's because of the way that the quiz is going, though, because the only students that I've had an issue with that, it's like specific students where there's something that's going on. It's never been, this quiz is dumb and the way that you're doing it is dumb. It's been something else is going on, or I wasn't here to read it, and then of course they make an appointment with me and come back and do it. So, yes.
Have you seen like a better performance from the kids academically? Over old quizzes?
Going off of the quiz that I recently did, which was again the Act 1 Bristol quiz, the grades were really great. It was open notes and it was open book because again the quizzes that are chosen to go on PowerPoint are going to be something like that where they'll have 2 minutes and that'll be enough because they have that evidence to use and to back up their answers. But yeah, so it's been working. I've given only 1 or 2 quizzes that are on paper, and I wouldn't say that there's like a huge difference that I've noticed, but I haven't really stopped and looked. So maybe if I did stop and look at the quiz I just administered and then maybe old ones, that there would be a difference, but I don't know.
Do you notice though with paper quizzes compared to the PowerPoint quizzes? Think about like, did the paper quizzes take longer? Did you give the students more time and it was just sort of?
Yeah.
Because when I get quizzes and they're on paper like, regular quizzes, they sort of get this amorphous amount of time.
Yeah.
And most of our students have a hard time pacing themselves.
Yes, and that's kind of like the biggest issue is, for at least when I think about quizzes and giving them on paper, is I give you a quiz and I say you have this amount of time, but they don't really listen to it because they see 10 questions and they say, oh, but I have 30 minutes, so it's fine. I can just spend all this time on this. So that kind of, once 30 minutes passes, they're like, wait, I'm not done. And then I have to be the person that says, you had to be done.
Right.
So with the ones that we're doing that are on the PowerPoint, it gives them enough time for each question individually.
I love it.
That's
Awesome.
okay. Thank you.